Hey everyone! Week 6. You only have this video and one more video of me to get through, so that's great. I'm going to walk through, as usual, the stuff that we do for the week, and then we'll take it from there. So let's take a look. What do we have going on this week? You turned your second paper in yesterday, so that's great. You only have one to go. And I'll explain and talk all about that in just a few minutes. But let's walk through the modules just to see what's going on this week. So you've got the weekly update, which you're watching currently, obviously. Then you have your response for this week. And what I would like you to do for this one is just talk through or respond to something about the reading that you've selected for this week. Maybe there's something interesting, maybe there's something confusing about the reading, but I'll explain a little bit about the reading that you're required to do this week because you don't have to read the entire thing. But I do want you to just kind of post a general reading response about what you've actually read or what you're going through, or what's going through your mind as you're reading it. So that's what I would like you to have for your weekly response. Man, it is humid in my office today. All right. Paper 3, the search formula. So you will read all about that this week. Let me just open this up so I can read through it with you. But the search formula, that's what paper 3 is all about, and it corresponds with the reading that, like I said, you'll be doing this week. Search is the weirdest acronym that you'll ever see. But whatever, I'll explain that in a second. But let's talk through the paper to see what's required of you for this one. This one's kind of a combo move. It's kind of an annotated bibliography and an informative essay. So this one, a source analysis, 200 to 300 words each for each of the sources that you find. So that's about 1,000 to 1,500 words. And then the informative essay is about 700 to 1,000 words. So you've got a combo there somewhere in the range of anywhere between 17 to 2,500 words. All right, document design, 12 point times your Roman or Calibri, same old standard stuff like when you open Word or whatever you're using, that's what kind of pops up. This is 16% of your final grade, just like paper 2, and it corresponds to chapter 7, Case Studies in the Extraordinary, from our textbook. Now, all of the other papers that we've had, or both of the other papers that we've had, have due on Sunday nights, but because the way the semester is set up, the last day of the semester is a Saturday. So this one's actually due Saturday, June 24th. So you get one less day to actually complete this one. So I do want to give you a heads up that it's due on the Saturday, not Sunday. So just making sure that you're all aware of that. But I'll bug you again next week just to, remind you. All right, so there are 3 parts to this assignment. First one, gathering sources. Second part is analyzing each source using the search formula. And then finally, writing the informative essay. All right, so part 1, gathering sources. In chapter 7 of Weird Things, there are several different topics listed below on the assignment sheet that are discussed at length. For this first part of the assignment, you're responsible for gathering 5 sources about one topic that you will analyze in the second part of the assignment. You should find sources that have a very specific argument or hypothesis. It will make the analysis much easier. So you're going to find 5 different sources about just one of the topics that you select. So I don't want you to say, oh, I'm going to find one source about this, one source about that topic. You have to select a topic and then find 5 sources about that topic. Again, if you've ever done an annotated bibliography, very similar type of assignment. So the topics are homeopathy, intercessory prayer, UFO abductions, communicating with the dead, near-death experiences, ghosts, conspiracy, and climate change. So these kind of range from, very, some of them can be very factually based. Others are ones that people have a very, they have a hesitation about, so we can really see how these are widely disputed. And so it'll be easy to really think, not really necessarily easy, but it'll be, I guess it'll be a little bit of a different experience to actually think, how do we argue about these different topics that people are widely varied on in terms of what they think about them. All right. So your sources may be gathered from the type of sources below. So first you have to pick that topic. Then you have to find sources. So apply your knowledge of credible sources that you've learned from previous English courses. Because we're dealing with topics that have a wide variety of opinion, you should use your best judgment about the source's reputation. You must use one of each type of source. So I have 5 different types of sources listed. And so you must find one of each type. So a news report, that can be found online, like a newspaper or whatever. Or you can even find a video if you want to. That's fine. An academic journal article, so you're going to probably jump into the library's database to find that. A book, it could be a chapter from a book. You can go on the library's database to use that. You can use Google Scholar, you can use Google Books, you can jump on Amazon to see if you can find a chapter, and then maybe our library or your local library, depending on where you're at right now, has that book. Or again, maybe you might use Google Scholar or something to try to find that source online. A magazine, again, you can use our library databases to find magazines, or you can just jump on Google and find stuff like that. And a website. So those are the 5 types of sources you need to use for this assignment. So you're going to pick the topic, then you're going to find 5 sources, one of each of the types of sources I just went through for that first part. So part 2 is you're going to analyze each source using the search formula. And you'll learn all about the search formula in the reading for this week. But just to reiterate, or just to give you a preview, I guess I should say, there are 4 steps in the search formula. And you'll see, again, this is the weirdest this is the weirdest acronym, but whatever. I didn't make it. They like it, so okay. First part, state the claim. And I'm not going to go through each of these sections. I do want you to actually go through the reading and understand it on your own. If we have questions about it next week, I'd be happy to break it down a little bit further. But I just want to run through kind of the different parts of the search formula. So state the claim, examine the evidence for the claim, consider alternative hypotheses, and then rate, according to the criteria of adequacy, each hypothesis. So as I mentioned earlier, it's going to be much easier to do this second part, to analyze the sources, if you find a source that has a very specific argument or has a very specific hypothesis about something. That way you can actually go through each of the 4 steps of the search formula. Each step is discussed in detail in Chapter 7 of Weird Things. Make sure you refer to Chapter 7 as you're analyzing each source. For each source, you must include a write-up of how you apply the search formula to it. Don't just list your answer. So what I don't want to see is 1, here's a claim. 2, here's the evidence. 3, I don't want to see that. I do want you to write it in a short paragraph form. All right, so instead of listing your answers, I want you to discuss the 4 parts of the search formula in a short paragraph. Each short paragraph should be approximately 200 to 300 words. So again, if you have 5 sources, the total amount of writing for this part will be 1,000 to 1,500 words. And just as you would for like an annotated bibliography or a works cited page, you should list the sources in alphabetical order. Don't say, here's my news source. Here is this other source. Make sure you're listing them as you would for an annotated bibliography in alphabetical order. Also be sure you include a full, correct MLA citation for each source. Use the skills that you've developed in your previous English courses. You can even go online. There are lots of citation help, generators, things like that online. And also maybe if you have a handbook from a previous English course, that's very useful as well. So be sure that you're really putting the detail into making sure you have the correct MLA citation, because I will dock points otherwise. All right, so you've got that second part down. Then, part 3, the informative essay. After your summary, so after you've gone through and you've done like the annotated bibliography part where you've kind of gone through the search formula, you're going to write an informative essay. You're going to write 700 to 50, wait a second. You will write a 750 to 1,000 word informative essay about the topic you selected. You must use all 5 sources in your informative essay. Your informative essay should be written for an audience of knowledgeable peers. Remember, your audience will not know as much as you do about this topic because you just researched it a bunch, you found 5 sources, you read about it in our textbook. So you will need to write in a way that's understandable to a wide audience. Your informative essay should include a detailed description of the topic, suggestions about how to interpret this topic, what ongoing research is, if any, is happening, and any other details that your audience would find helpful to understand the topic. Remember to include in-text citations whenever you borrow information. So that includes paraphrasing, that includes quoting, that includes summarizing. So anytime you use outside information, you need to make sure you have that in-text citation, like in parentheses, at the end of your sentence. And remember, for English classes, we do use MLA, so just make sure that you're using the correct citation format as well. Don't use APA or Chicago or any other ones, but please use MLA for this one. So for the informative essay, like I said, you're really informing or kind of teaching your readers about the topic. Your goal in an informative paper is to explain the topic thoroughly, without bias, and with credible sources. Once your reader is finished reading your informative essay, the reader should have a good grasp on the topic, or at least enough to have an intelligent conversation about the topic. So you might think, oh, when they're done reading this, can they go to like a dinner party or whatever and say, oh, I read a paper on this topic and here's what I've learned about that. So that's kind of your goal. You want to give them something to actually have an intelligent conversation about the idea or the topics that you're presenting in your paper. And then grading. Grades will be based on effective use and choice of sources, the application of the search formula to appropriately analyze sources, and your ability to effectively convey the information requested of this assignment. Whew! All right, that's a lot to take in. If you look at the modules, so after you read the paper description, you will see that there are 3 sample papers there. Those sample papers should help you understand what I'm looking for with this paper. As with the previous papers that we've had, I've included the sample papers for that reason, so you get a better idea. It's easier for you to see what's expected of you, if you see a couple sample papers. So those are available for you on Canvas in the modules. Then, after that, you have some reading from Chapter 7. Read Chapter 7. Again, this is another long chapter, it's 220 to 294. However, what I want you to do is think about paper number 3, and I want you to select a topic. And only read the section from Chapter 7 that pertains to your topic. So there will be different sections for each one of those topics on the assignment sheet, but only read the section from Chapter 7 about your topic. I mean, you probably have to read a little bit in the beginning about the search formula and everything like that, but then skip to whatever section is about the topic that you're going to be using. So I just want to give you a heads up. You don't have to read the entire thing, but just read the section about the search formula and the part of Chapter 3 that pertains to your topic. Now, if you're not quite sure what some of them mean, you might just kind of skim through the different topics that are available for you. That way, it'll give you a better idea of what each topic is all about. All right, then let's see here. You're going to evaluate claims. You're going to get a little practice actually with using the search formula, so you'll get a little bit of an idea of what's expected of you for paper number 3. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose 3 of the claims on page 289 and then evaluate them using the search formula. So like I said, you're going to get practice doing exactly what you need to do for paper 3 in this kind of low stakes assignment for this week. So each response should be about 100 words, so you're writing about 300 words total for this assignment. And then you can either type your responses in the text box or upload a file with your responses. And then you have a critical reading and writing, a little more bookwork here. You're going to complete the critical reading and writing exercise on page 290. And then you've done this before, but there are 2 parts to it. So the first part 1, is 5 questions. And then part 2 is a 250-word essay. So again, you can either type your responses or upload a file containing your responses. And that is week 6. So there's a decent amount of work. I encourage you to get a jump start on paper 3, especially because we have one last day. Even more so because this requires you to find 5 sources. So it is going to be a little bit of a little extra legwork on your end. So I do encourage you to take the time to actually sit down, understand the assignment. Please ask questions if you have them. Shoot me an email, anything like that, just to make sure that you're on the right page for this assignment. And then really start digging in as soon as you can. We're on the home stretch. We've got this one last paper to go. So you're almost there. And And after this, I'm going to start grading and get some other grades back to you, get some feedback to you. I should say, if you haven't noticed that, I did upload the other papers, paper 1, I should say. You should have a little notification that says, that there's a grade. Also, that there's probably a comment there as well. I've uploaded the paper, and if you click on that paper, you'll see all the comments that I've left throughout your paper in that comment. So you can, it's a, kind of shows up as like a little dialog box, and then if you click it, it should, give you the ability to like download your paper, but I just use Microsoft Word to just kind of, leave comments or track changes throughout the entire thing. So that's how you can see the feedback that I've left on paper 1 for you. If you did submit a PDF, it'll be a little bit different. You won't actually download something. It'll just show up on your screen on Canvas. So it's a little bit different. But if you have trouble actually accessing my comments, shoot me an email and I'd be happy to walk you through it. So, all right, well, have a great week. It's super hot out there, so I hope you're staying cool, or at least if you're in the Michigan area or wherever you are. Doesn't really matter. I hope you're comfortable. All right, have a great week. I'll see you this time next week. Bye.